Today, we'll uncover how you can make your food last indefinitely using methods honed over generations. Let's delve into these invaluable practices that promote sustainability and self-reliance. Number 1. The philosophy behind Amish food preservation. Amish food preservation stems from a holistic philosophy that intertwines faith, community, and a deep respect for nature. Central to this is the principle of self-sufficiency. The Amish aim to live independently of modern systems, relying on their own resources to meet their needs. Preserving food is a critical component of this independence, allowing them to store surplus harvests and reduce dependency on external markets. Stewardship of the land is another cornerstone. The Amish believe they are caretakers of God's creation, which translates into sustainable farming and preservation practices that minimize waste. By carefully canning, fermenting, and drying their produce, they ensure that the fruits of their labor are utilized fully, reflecting a commitment to gratitude and responsible consumption. Community cohesion is also reinforced through these practices. Food preservation is often a communal activity, with knowledge passed down through generations. This sharing of techniques and collective work strengthens social bonds and maintains cultural traditions. It becomes more than a practical task. It's a way to uphold their heritage and reinforce communal values. Simplicity and humility guide their methods. Eschewing modern technology, the Amish use time-tested natural techniques that align with their minimalist lifestyle. This simplicity is not seen as a limitation, but as a deliberate choice to focus on what is essential and spiritually fulfilling. Number 2, fermentation. Fermentation is a pivotal technique in Amish food preservation, enabling them to extend the shelf life of various foods naturally and healthily. By leveraging the activity of beneficial microorganisms like bacteria and yeast, the Amish transform perishable ingredients into preserved staples that can last indefinitely when properly stored. This method not only prevents spoilage, but also enhances the nutritional value of foods by increasing vitamins, enzymes, and probiotics. In Amish communities, fermentation is used to preserve a wide array of foods. Vegetables such as cabbage are fermented into sauerkraut, while cucumbers become pickles through lactofermentation, using just salt and the natural bacteria present on the vegetables. They also ferment beets into kvass and create relishes and chutneys with mixed vegetables. Dairy fermentation is common as well. Raw milk is turned into yogurt, kefir, and cheese, which can be stored for extended periods without refrigeration. Grains are another important aspect of Amish fermentation practices. They maintain sourdough starters that are used for baking bread, pancakes, and biscuits, providing leavening without commercial yeast. Fermented beverages like apple cider vinegar, kombucha, and homemade root beer are also staples, created through the fermentation of fruits and sweetened teas. The fermentation process requires careful preparation and monitoring. The Amish use traditional crocks and glass jars, ensuring that the fermenting foods are kept in optimal conditions, away from direct sunlight and at consistent temperatures. They often cover fermenting vessels with cloth to allow gases to escape while preventing contaminants from entering. Fermentation is more than a preservation method for the Amish. It's a way to connect with their heritage and maintain a sustainable lifestyle. The practice reduces food waste, eliminates the need for artificial preservatives, and promotes health through natural probiotics. By relying on simple ingredients and natural processes, the Amish demonstrate how fermentation can be an effective and enriching way to make food last indefinitely. Number 3, canning for long-term storage. Canning is a cornerstone of Amish food preservation, enabling them to store a wide variety of foods safely for extended periods. The Amish carefully prepare and can fruits, vegetables, meats, and even complete meals using traditional methods that have been refined over generations. They utilize glass jars with airtight lids, ensuring both the jars and lids are thoroughly sterilized by boiling before use to prevent any bacterial contamination. The canning process involves packing prepared foods into these sterilized jars, leaving the appropriate headspace to allow for expansion during heating. The Amish are meticulous about removing air bubbles by gently tapping the jars or using non-metallic spatulas, which is crucial for preventing spoilage. They employ both water bath canning and pressure canning methods, selecting the technique based on the acidity of the food. High-acid foods like fruits, tomatoes, and pickles are processed using a boiling water bath, while low-acid foods such as meats, corn, and green beans require pressure canning to reach temperatures high enough to eliminate harmful bacteria like Clostridium botulinum. An interesting aspect of Amish canning is their reliance on natural preservatives like salt, sugar, and vinegar, which not only enhance flavor, but also contribute to the preservation process. They often can foods without artificial additives, staying true to natural ingredients. The Amish also label each jar with the contents and the date of canning, practicing a first-in, first-out system to ensure older items are used before newer ones, minimizing waste. Canned goods are typically stored in cool, dark cellars or pantries, where stable temperatures and the absence of light help maintain the quality and safety of the food over time. This careful attention to detail and adherence to proven methods allow the Amish to keep canned foods for several years without significant loss of nutritional value or taste. Canning is not just a preservation technique for the Amish. It's a vital part of their self-sufficiency and a way to provide for their families throughout the year, regardless of seasonal changes. Number 4, dehydration. Dehydration is a crucial preservation method utilized by the Amish to extend the shelf life of various foods without relying on refrigeration or chemical additives. By removing moisture from foods like fruits, vegetables, meats, and herbs, they inhibit the growth of bacteria, yeast, and mold, effectively preventing spoilage. The Amish employ traditional techniques, often drying foods in the open air or using low-temperature heat sources powered by wood or coal. For fruits such as apples, peaches, and berries, they slice them thinly and lay them out on clean, elevated screens or thread them onto strings, hanging them in well-ventilated shaded areas to dry naturally. Vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, and mushrooms are prepared similarly, sometimes being blanched briefly before drying to preserve color and nutritional value. Herbs are bundled and hung upside down indoors, away from direct sunlight, until they become crisp. Meats are turned into jerky by cutting them into thin strips, marinating in natural seasonings, and drying them over low heat or in smokehouses. This not only removes moisture, but also infuses the meat with smoky flavors and additional preservation through the antimicrobial properties of smoke compounds. The Amish are meticulous about the drying environment, ensuring low humidity and consistent airflow to facilitate even dehydration. They often use simple tools like handmade racks and screens, demonstrating resourcefulness and adherence to sustainable practices. Once dehydrated, foods are stored in airtight containers such as glass jars with tight-fitting lids or cloth bags for items like herbs. These containers are kept in cool, dark places to prevent reabsorption of moisture. Dehydrated foods can last for months or even years, providing essential nutrition during winter or times when fresh produce is not available. This method exemplifies the Amish commitment to self-sufficiency, minimal waste, and living in harmony with natural processes. Number 5, root cellaring. Root cellaring is a time-honored technique that allows for the natural preservation of fruits and vegetables by leveraging the Earth's consistent underground temperature and humidity. This method involves storing produce in a cool, dark environment where temperature fluctuations are minimal, typically between 32 degrees Fahrenheit and 40 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius. High humidity levels, around 85% to 95%, are essential to prevent dehydration of the stored items. The Amish construct root cellars either underground or partially buried structures, using materials like stone or wood to provide insulation. Key factors in successful root cellaring include proper ventilation to prevent the buildup of ethylene gas and excess moisture, which can lead to spoilage. Ventilation shafts or pipes are often installed to facilitate air circulation. The placement of different types of produce is also critical. For example, apples and pears emit ethylene gas and should be stored separately from vegetables like potatoes and carrots to avoid premature ripening or spoilage. The Amish utilize various techniques to enhance storage conditions, such as layering root vegetables in damp sand or sawdust to maintain optimal moisture levels. Shelving is arranged to keep produce off the ground and away from walls to reduce exposure to condensation. Regular monitoring for signs of rot or pest activity is conducted to ensure the integrity of the stored food. By adhering to these practices, root cellaring can extend the shelf life of produce for several months, providing a reliable food supply throughout the winter and into the early spring, without the need for refrigeration or preservatives. Number 6. Smoking and curing meats. Smoking and curing meats are essential techniques in Amish food preservation, allowing meats to be stored safely for extended periods without refrigeration. The Amish employ traditional methods that involve using natural ingredients and time-honored processes. They begin by selecting high-quality cuts of meat from livestock raised on their farms, ensuring freshness and control over the meat's quality. The curing process involves applying a mixture of salt, sugar, and spices directly to the meat or immersing it in a brine solution. Salt acts as a preservative by drawing out moisture and creating an environment inhospitable to bacteria. After curing, the meat is typically smoked in a smokehouse, a small wooden structure designed to contain smoke from smoldering hardwoods like hickory, apple, or maple. The choice of wood influences the flavor profile of the meat. Cold smoking is often preferred, where the temperature remains below 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 degrees Celsius, allowing the meat to absorb smoke over several days without cooking it. This slow process imparts a rich flavor and further dehydrates the meat, enhancing preservation. The Amish pay close attention to environmental conditions, ensuring proper ventilation and consistent temperatures within the smokehouse. They may smoke meats like pork bellies for bacon, hams, sausages, and even cheeses. The combination of curing and smoking not only preserves the meat, but also develops complex flavors and textures prized in Amish cuisine. These methods reflect a deep understanding of food science passed down through generations, emphasizing patience, craftsmanship, and a connection to traditional ways of living. Number 7. Preserving with natural sweeteners. Preserving food with natural sweeteners is a time-tested method that extends the shelf life of fruits and enhances their flavors without artificial additives. The Amish skillfully use ingredients like honey, maple syrup, and unrefined sugars to create jams, jellies, and preserves that can last for years. High concentrations of natural sweeteners inhibit microbial growth by reducing water activity, effectively preventing spoilage. One technique involves simmering fruits in honey or maple syrup, allowing the natural sugars to draw out moisture through osmosis. This process concentrates the fruit's flavors and creates a thick consistency without the need for commercial pectin. The Amish often combine fruits like berries, apples, and peaches with these sweeteners, cooking them slowly to preserve nutrients and achieve the desired texture. Another method is making fruit syrups and cordials by steeping fruits in sweeteners over time. This not only preserves the fruit, but also infuses the sweetener with rich flavors, resulting in versatile products that can be used in beverages or as toppings. Additionally, they practice candying, where fruits are soaked in concentrated sugar solutions and then dried. This creates a protective coating that seals out moisture and bacteria, allowing the fruits to be stored long-term. Using natural sweeteners aligns with the Amish commitment to simplicity and self-sufficiency. It enables them to preserve the bounty of their harvests without relying on refrigeration or artificial preservatives. These practices not only reduce waste, but also provide wholesome, flavorful foods that support health and well-being throughout the year. Number 8. Vinegar pickling. Vinegar pickling is a fundamental technique in Amish food preservation, utilizing the natural acidity of vinegar to inhibit bacterial growth and extend the shelf life of various foods. The Amish prepare pickles, relishes, and chutneys by immersing vegetables and fruits in vinegar-based brines infused with herbs and spices. This method not only preserves the food, but also enhances its flavor, creating tangy and crisp delicacies that can be enjoyed year-round. The process begins with selecting fresh, high-quality produce such as cucumbers, green beans, beets, onions, and even fruits like watermelon rinds. The Amish often use apple cider vinegar, which adds a subtle sweetness and depth of flavor compared to white vinegar. They combine the vinegar with water, salt, and natural sweeteners like honey or maple syrup, avoiding artificial preservatives and additives. Spices and herbs play a crucial role in Amish pickling recipes. Mustard seeds, dill, garlic, peppercorns, and bay leaves are commonly added to the brine, creating complex flavor profiles. The produce is packed into sterilized glass jars, and the hot brine is poured over them, ensuring all air bubbles are removed to prevent spoilage. The jars are then sealed tightly and processed in a boiling water bath to ensure a proper seal and destroy any remaining microorganisms. One unique aspect of Amish vinegar pickling is the use of fermentation in conjunction with vinegar. Sometimes, they allow the natural fermentation process to begin before adding vinegar, resulting in a product that combines the benefits of both methods. The pickled goods are stored in cool, dark pantries or cellars, where they can remain safe to eat for up to a year or more. Vinegar pickling is more than a preservation method for the Amish. It's a tradition that brings families together during harvest seasons. Recipes are often passed down through generations, each family adding their unique touch. This practice reflects the Amish values of self-reliance, resourcefulness, and a deep connection to the land and community. Number 9. Dairy preservation. The Amish employ time-honored methods to preserve dairy products without relying on modern refrigeration. Cheese making is a central practice. By transforming fresh milk into hard cheeses through curdling, pressing, and aging, they reduce moisture content and create an environment less conducive to bacterial growth. Aging cheeses in cool, controlled conditions like cellars or caves enhances flavor and allows them to be stored for months. Butter preservation is also significant. After churning cream into butter, the Amish often salt it to inhibit the growth of microbes and mold. Salted butter can be kept in crocks or airtight containers and stored in cool areas such as spring houses, small structures built over cold springs that naturally lower temperatures. This method extends the butter's shelf life without the need for refrigeration. Fermentation plays a vital role in their dairy preservation. By fermenting milk into products like yogurt, kefir, buttermilk, and clabbered milk, they introduce beneficial bacteria that inhibit spoilage organisms. These fermented products have extended shelf lives and offer added nutritional benefits. The Amish also produce sour cream and cottage cheese using similar fermentation techniques. Root cellars are another tool for dairy preservation. These underground storage spaces maintain consistent, cool temperatures year-round, slowing down the spoilage process. Dairy products stored in root cellars remain fresh, longer due to the reduced temperature and humidity control. By utilizing these natural preservation methods, cheese making, salting butter, fermentation, and cool storage, the Amish effectively extend the usability of dairy products. These practices reflect their commitment to self-sufficiency, sustainability, and living in harmony with natural processes, all while ensuring a steady supply of nutritious food throughout the year. Number 10. Herbal infusions and tinctures. Herbal infusions and tinctures are integral to Amish preservation practices, utilized for both culinary and medicinal purposes. The Amish carefully harvest herbs like peppermint, chamomile, echinacea, and elderberry at their peak potency, often from their own gardens. To create infusions, they steep fresh or dried herbs in hot water, extracting essential oils and beneficial compounds. These infusions are then stored in sterilized glass jars, sealed tightly to prevent contamination, and kept in cool, dark places to maintain their efficacy over time. For tinctures, the Amish use alcohol or vinegar as natural preservatives. They place finely chopped herbs into airtight containers and cover them with high-proof spirits or apple cider vinegar. This mixture is left to macerate for several weeks, allowing the solvent to extract active constituents from the plant material. The resulting tincture is a concentrated liquid that can be used sparingly and has a long shelf life without refrigeration. The Amish label each tincture with the herb type and date of preparation for proper tracking. These methods enable the Amish to preserve the therapeutic properties of herbs year-round, supporting their self-sufficient lifestyle. Herbal infusions and tinctures are used in teas, remedies, and as flavor enhancers in cooking. By relying on natural ingredients and time-tested techniques, the Amish maintain a close connection to the land and uphold their traditions of simplicity and resourcefulness. Number 11. Grain storage. Grain storage is a vital aspect of Amish self-sufficiency, ensuring a steady supply of staples like wheat, corn, oats, and barley throughout the year. The Amish employ traditional methods that emphasize natural preservation and protection against pests without relying on modern chemicals. They typically harvest grains at peak maturity to maximize nutritional content and drying efficiency. After harvesting, grains are thoroughly dried to a specific moisture level, usually around 12 to 13%, which is crucial to prevent mold growth and spoilage during storage. For storage, the Amish use wooden granaries or silos constructed with natural materials that allow for adequate airflow while protecting grains from moisture and pests. These structures are often elevated or built with raised foundations to prevent ground moisture from seeping in. Inside, grains are stored in bulk or in natural fiber sacks, which are breathable and help maintain optimal humidity levels. To combat pests like weevils and rodents, the Amish may incorporate natural deterrents, such as layering grains with diatomaceous earth, a fine, food-grade powder that is safe for human consumption, but lethal to insects due to its dehydrating properties. Temperature control is another critical factor. Grain storage areas are designed to stay cool and dry, often situated in shaded locations or underground cellars that naturally regulate temperature fluctuations. The Amish regularly inspect stored grains for signs of spoilage or infestation, turning or stirring them to ensure even aeration and to disrupt any developing pest populations. They practice crop rotation and diversity, which not only benefits soil health, but also reduces the likelihood of large-scale pest infestations that could compromise stored grains. Number 12. Incorporating Amish methods into modern living. Integrating Amish food preservation techniques into modern life can enhance sustainability and self-reliance. One practical approach is to start with canning seasonal produce. By learning to can fruits and vegetables, you can reduce food waste and enjoy homegrown flavors year-round. Fermentation is another accessible method. Creating homemade sauerkraut or pickled vegetables not only preserves them, but also introduces beneficial probiotics into your diet. Adopting root cellaring doesn't require a traditional cellar. A cool, dark space like a basement corner can suffice for storing root vegetables and hardy greens. Dehydrating foods using modern dehydrators or even oven settings allows you to make long-lasting snacks like dried fruits, jerky, and herbs without additives. These methods decrease dependency on commercially processed foods and reduce packaging waste. Exploring natural sweeteners such as honey and maple syrup for preserving jams and jellies offers a healthier alternative to refined sugars. Incorporating smoking and curing techniques can elevate your culinary skills, providing flavorful meats that last longer without refrigeration. Utilizing these practices encourages a closer connection to your food sources and promotes mindful eating habits.